Coming up next on your favorite radio station, MZ is getting ready to take the helm, take the pilot seat, if you will, for hour one of the Saturday special. I would like to remind you at this time that I will be out in the Dave Cave until 2 o'clock at least today. And some good news for a lot of you out there that have been waiting for, or who have been waiting for, the Synaptive. We finally got the Synaptive in, which is great news, MZ. Everybody has been asking for this. Everybody has been requesting it. We finally got it, Synaptive. This is to help with brain function, not just with memory and clarity, but it also helps with motor function. It's going to help your muscles respond better. It's going to help everything work better. This is Synaptive. We have it in the Dave Cave. $60 is the wholesale price, and we have them. Since they are so popular, MZ, I think I'm going to limit 2 per customer, 2 bottles of Synaptive per customer. Because
that's a very responsible thing.
Yeah, because otherwise they'll just go, they'll just fly off the shelf. So 2 per customer. We have them in stock, the Synaptive, and we also have the on-the-go Healthy Start Pack. No mess, no fuss, no drinking, no mixing. You just take the packet of capsules, wash it down with some water, and you're done. All 90 essential nutrients. That's your calcium, your BTT, your fish oils, all that stuff in one easy packet. Just tear it open, wash it down, and you're gone. You're done. How's that? We've got that, too.
I just love it.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I tell you, I'm going to be out there until 2 o'clock at least today, maybe until 4, but always.
What will determine the demand?
Actually, it depends on whether or not these guys show up for their show. That's what's going to determine it.
Do we have people that responsible at KSCO?
For what?
They might show up for their show and they might not?
Well, sometimes they want a pre-recorded show to play, and if that's the case, then I will go home early if I can.
Oh.
Yeah. But I'm not planning on that happening. I'm planning on being out there till 4.
Poor Dave Michaels.
Yeah. At least till 2. Tell you what, MZ, just to play it safe, call 218-KSCO. You can call that number whenever you want, 218-KSCO, area code 831.
It connects directly to Thou.
It goes right to me, and I'll tell you whether I'll be there or not, and we can deliver it to your house, meet for pickup, schedule, whatever it is, 218-KSCO, MZ. But I'm headed out to the Dave Cave right now, so I'm going to hand it over to you, MZ. Good morning.
Good morning. You mean like this?
Good morning.
Like that.
Is here. Good morning. May we bring you cheer.
We've got time, we've got tunes, we've got time, tunes, and temperature.
Get up and go, it's today, you know, on KSCO Radio.
There's a reason we call it the Saturday Special. What is the reason? We've got to have some reason. Maybe we'll figure out what that reason is today. Welcome to hour number 1 of your favorite program on your favorite radio station. Stay with us until noon. Well, I think you'll be happy you did. So do that, okay?
Good morning. Now stay right here on KSCO Radio.
Parker McEnany.
Hello.
Did I say your name right?
Oh, no, close. McAnally.
McAnally.
Mm-hmm. It's a weird one. It's an odd one. That's for sure.
Okay. Now, you are 20-something years old.
22.
A little closer to the microphone, please.
22.
Okay, good. And you are you're a high-tech person of sorts.
Of sorts, kind of, yeah.
Yeah. You connect humans like me to screaming high-fast internet.
Mm-hmm. That's what I do.
Okay, and that's how you and I met earlier this week. And you're a young person.
Mm.
And I am fascinated by young people. Wait a minute, that didn't come out right. The reason I'm fascinated by young people is because this talk radio station, by nature of it being a talk radio station, appeals to older people. You know, people like me. And I've always wanted every opportunity I get to have a conversation with a younger person. I like to seize that opportunity. Now, I've had this radio station for 30 and a half years. Wild and crazy years. Wouldn't trade it for anything. Never a dull moment, you can imagine. Having a talk right now, you probably have never even listened to a talk radio. Do you even know what a radio station is?
Yeah. Yeah, I grew up on the East Coast, so my dad was very big into radio. He moved over to Sirius XM because he wanted that kind of tailor-made radio experience. But yeah, I've listened to a couple, and nothing really local or like localized as this. It's more so like general, like statewide or something like that. Those kind of radio stations.
Well, when I got into this business, as I say, a little more than 30 years ago, if you were 30 years old, and I was about 39 then, if you were 30 years old, you hadn't even heard of the AM radio band. They said, what's that? Now, if you're 30 years old, you haven't heard of radio at all. Now, you have because of your dad, I guess, but am I, don't you think I'm right? I mean, you guys don't talk about radio to each other. You talk about digital. You grew up digital.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the influence of Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, all these streaming apps, you can have what you want at your fingertips, and you can change on demand. Whenever you feel like, oh, this song's dragging on a little bit, you can just change it to the next one. You don't have to wait for the song to end or change stations. You can just go right into the next song, and then you know what song it's going to be because you picked the next song. So it's like having your own personal jukebox on your, in your hand, in your car. You do lose a little bit of the, interpersonality of it and all, because radio stations is about talking, about communicating. So that's kind of a downside.
Traditional radio that's not talk radio, which I believe was the original social medium, really. If you think about it, it's two ways. You don't need a computer. You don't need all you need is a telephone. You don't have to be particularly high tech. You don't need a smartphone. You don't need an internet connection and so forth. But I guess you have to have a desire to talk or a desire to listen to other people's talking.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And opinions and so forth. So I am still a big proponent of talk radio. I still think that it is the most popular format in broadcast radio today is talk radio still, maybe followed by sports or religious radio. I don't know. Have you heard, of course, no, I'm not, I'm just going to ask you, have you heard of Rush Limbaugh?
Yes, of course.
Okay. What have you heard Rush Limbaugh?
I don't listen to Rush Limbaugh, but I know of him, his golden microphone, his very energetic, very enthusiastic energy he brings to it, a lot of passion. And again, this is from my perspective, but he seems kind of have anger in him a lot. It seems like there's a little bit of like animosity somewhere behind him. That's all I really know of him when I hear him speak on just random sound clips or anything like that.
That's your own.
That's my personal opinion. That's not.
So no one has told you that.
No. That's just what what I've heard of him. The very little of him I have.
Right. That you just happen to be within earshot of.
Something passing by of Rush Limbaugh, something like that.
Okay. All right. Does humor, does that enter into the picture at all? Do you ever think of
when
humor
I think of him?
When you think of him, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I imagine he can make a pretty funny guy. But again, I'm not too privy to it. I'm not too much of aware of his style. But yeah, I imagine I imagine his radio, especially for being so long running. Yeah, he has to have some comedy. Otherwise, it's just a talking mouthpiece that just keeps droning your ear out.
Well, recently this year, Rush passed. I don't know if you know about that. So a lot of radio stations that carried his program, I mean, all of them who carried his program are not carrying his program anymore because he's gone. There's thousands of hours of Rush recordings of the program for over 33 and a half years. He was a staple of talk radio. In fact, he basically popularized the talk radio on a national scale, and he introduced it to prime time during the daytime. Before that, they had people like Larry King. I'm sure you've
Larry
heard
King.
that name. It was all talk radio was more of a off prime time phenomenon.
Yeah.
But Rush and the guy who discovered him proved that talk radio can be not only viable but incredibly viable to a large audience during prime time. Okay, well, when Rush passed, I mean, you can imagine major changes. I mean, Rush, you didn't use the term conservative, but I assume that comes to mind.
Yeah, I don't think that's too far of a stretch of a word, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't want to dwell on politics, but I'm hoping that we can at least touch on, and I'm sure you're an individual. I don't think your sentiments necessarily represent others of your age.
Yeah, it's just
group.
my opinion.
It's
So,
just
you know,
your
I'm just one
opinion, right.
guy.
And so, yeah, and you definitely have a way with words. You know how to tack words together. And I was impressed when I met you earlier this week and asked you if you would come on the radio with me. And to my delight, you said yes. I mean, not even familiar with the radio station, really.
That's the first time in one, so.
Yeah. Not funny. That's great. Anyhow, so to you, what is the most important thing facing people of your age group, what you think? All you can do is answer for yourself, obviously.
Yeah. For me, and this is just kind of what's the word I'm looking for? A conflict localized within California and the Bay Area in general, but mainly housing. My generation is kind of priced out of the market, where there's very few people I know who are living on their own or can even afford to live on their own. And if they are, they're renting, and that's as far as they can even like visually see 5, 10 years down the road. Housing is just destroying us pretty much.
I don't think anybody will disagree with you.
Yeah, especially if you know Santa Cruz, the Bay Area.
When people call in at 479-1080 when we open the phones, not now, but a little later on, I'm sure no one will disagree with that because it's a fact.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
just crazy.
to what do you attribute that?
In kind of multiple parts. One is that everyone wants to come to California. You know, Golden State. You know, everyone wants to live here, especially by the ocean. And with more generations coming in, Silicon Valley booming larger and larger every decade. There's always more money to go around, and less people have that money. So it's more of there's a lot of people who can afford to have 1 or 2 homes, maybe even 3. And then there's a lot of people who are just trying to live in the same town that they grew up in, and they can't afford it anymore because the housing market's going incredible. Like my mom moved here 10 years ago. Her house has doubled in price. If she knew that, she would have bought a different house. But she didn't know that because she wasn't too familiar with the real estate area. And like even if she sells her house right now and gets full ask for it, she won't be able to get another house and pay it off before she passes. It's impossible. So
Around here, which is
around
why a lot
here.
of people are moving from here.
Exactly.
They're taking their profits and buying a place for 1/10 the price that's
the
twice
same
as
or
good.
better. Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, people are moving. Like my friends moved up to Oregon because Oregon, you know, right now they haven't had the housing market yet, but but they can get like a 3 or 4 bedroom home for like $2,000 a month. $2,000 a month gets you the shoebox or an old one for that, and it's barely a 2-bedroom. So you know, you can go a lot farther in a lot of different places in America, but California, New York, you know, pockets where most people live in the cities, it's just killing everyone there.
Are you dreading the day when you get squeezed out?
I'm not dreading it. I just, because I have a fallback. I have family in Texas, and, you know, I could probably get a pretty good plot of land in Texas if I wanted to right about now, actually. But, yeah, kind of, because all my friends want to be here. My teenage and adult life has been, you know, adult, quote unquote, has been here mainly. So I'm kind of in the pocket of, you know, do I stay, do I leave? I'm okay with leaving, but do I want to leave? Is that a fact that I have to leave, or is it a dream that I, you know, can stay here?
Well, if some of these problems, particularly regarding cost of living around here and housing in particular, can be solved, then you don't have to leave.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't hear anybody talking solutions. All I hear is people, and this is all throughout talk radio too. I hear bitching, 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 and that's what's wrong with talk radio, in my opinion. When I got into this, I was hoping that it could be used as a positive force to discuss problems facing the community and come up with solutions. Lots of problems, lots of discussions of problems facing the community, but no solutions. How do we get some solutions? Can you think of a solution or two for something?
I mean, I know right now there's a plan right now for expanding educational facilities, I believe for Cabrillo College, that will then, in the same stretch of land that they've designated those areas for, are adding apartment complexes in. So I'm pretty pumped for that because that's more housing, more places to rent, and kind of can drive the cost down. There's more demand or more supply, lower the price down. But it's kind of hard because it's really, especially Santa Cruz, is a seller's market. You can pretty much ask for whatever you want. You're pretty damn close to getting it, especially if you have a good house. Like, I've seen your house. That's a beautiful home. So, I mean, you could ask easy, 2, at least 3, and you can get that. So, I mean, that's easy. Easy. You could just snap your fingers and you can get that.
Well, anybody who bought real estate ever previously is a hero.
Oh, exactly. They're sitting on top of a pile of gold. That's
It's anybody.
And especially if you just own the land, the house, regardless of what's on the land. If you have land, you've won the game. That's it.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So you've said something that that I'm gonna chomp on a little bit here. You understand economics. You understand when the supply of something is limited, then the value of it is forced up. You understand that concept, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Back in 1978, when I was maybe 25, 26 years old, and I grew up in Santa Cruz. I was born and raised here, okay? And back then, they came up with growth control, growth management. There was around 1978. If you were living in the county, the unincorporated Santa Cruz County, you voted on, I think it was called Measure J, and that was to limit the number of housing units that could be built because they wanted to keep the place a nice place, not have it be paved over like San Jose, right?
Yeah,
and everybody who wants that. I mean, and so I voted for that. I voted for Measure where I was in the city, so I voted for Measure O, which was the equivalent growth management ballot initiative back then, because the idea of limiting by law the number of housing units that can be built appealed to everybody, regardless of what their personal politics were. Liberals, conservatives, they all said, what we all can all agree on is this is the best place in the world to live, or there's not many better places, and let's keep it as nice as possible.
Yep.
So let's vote through these initiatives, and they passed pretty easily. And it wasn't for 2 or 3 years after that I realized, looking back, are people surprised that when those growth management issues passed, after that, the prices of the existing housing units just went through the roof, and they've been going more through the roof ever since. And so I started thinking, maybe that's selfish and irresponsible to have the attitude, I've got mine, you can't have yours. And the way the government agencies, like the city council and the board of supervisors, chose to implement their growth management directive from the voters was to limit the number of subdivisions, minor land divisions, building permits, okay? Severely limit them. And actually, during the 70s and 80s, it got to be so oppressive. I mean, the planning department here in the city, in the county of Santa Cruz, and in the city of Santa Cruz, and I think in Capitola and Watsonville and the other municipalities that have their own planning departments, people felt oppressed. They felt that, wait a minute, I mean, I I want to build a second unit on my house so I can have some income, or I can make it affordable housing so my kids don't have to move away or whatever. And it became very, very, very difficult. About that time, I decided that what I had been taught in elementary economics was absolutely true. Whenever you try to artificially limit the supply of things, such as housing units and so forth, the 100% certain result is guaranteed rising housing
You're scalping
prices.
the market, essentially.
Yeah. And rents. And people, it seemed to me that the people who screamed the loudest and voted for these initiatives were the people who were getting screwed the most as a result of what they did.
Yep.
Wouldn't it seem that you would want to make it easier to create more housing? You clearly understand that. Or if there was another growth management issue that came on the ballot right now, would you vote for that? I mean, I don't think so. I think
to limit, yeah, I wouldn't do that, only because, there's a large portion of the working class in Santa Cruz who aren't living in Santa Cruz. They're living over in Ben Lomond, Felton. They're going over to Watsonville. Lupe, he was supposed to be here, but I mean, he's over in Soledad. He's an hour and a half away, just because it's affordable to live over there, and he's trying to move here, but he's hitting the same wall that I am. It's too expensive, and there's very little availability. So, a lot of people who live here have lived here, like you've had time here, you've lived here, Santa Cruz, and you got in somehow, in a fortuitous way. But
I'm a member of the Lucky Sperm Club.
There you go. Time's on your side on that one.
Do you know where that came from? Okay. The Lucky Sperm Club. There was our former president, Donald Trump, about 30 years before he was president, wrote a book called The Art of the Deal.
Oh, yeah.
And that he talked about people who were just lucky just because they happened to be born by being in the Lucky Sperm Club. I don't know where that. I don't know why it popped in, but I decided to use it in this broadcast.
I think it's quite fitting in this scenario. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good grab.
Speaking of President Trump, former President Trump, what are your thoughts on him?
I personally, as far as I do know that he shut down a lot of the coal industry, which I'm very a fan of. Even though he promised them more jobs, he shut it down, which I think is a good thing, because it's killing the workers and it's killing the planet. So you're just kind of saving everyone there. But other than that, I don't know too much about his policy. That's the thing. I just don't. The only thing as far as public appearance is that I don't think on record as the president, he's never taken fault for anything. He's never said it's my fault, or even like as a leader just said, you know what, it's on us, we got to make this right. I never have seen him sue that. I've said, oh, it's this person, oh, it's that person. Even, in his cabinet, out of his cabinet, his opponents, whatever. It's always someone else, or if it's a good thing, he puts himself in the crowd that's being honored. So that's something I didn't really like about that. I just, whatever he did, I do believe he did some good somewhere on his presidency.
I don't think anybody could argue with that. I really can't.
I just don't. I don't think you can get him on record saying I did something wrong. I don't think you can get him to say that. I just don't think the man can do that. I don't know why, but he just doesn't. And he's so quick to cast blame somewhere else, on his own people, on people who hate him. It's so easy. He just deflects. And I just whatever his policy is, I just don't like that, because if a man can't take responsibility for his wrongdoing, then I can't trust that person, regardless. So,
I got to agree with you, and I'm a Trump supporter. I'm a fan of Trump, because I think he's obnoxious and egocentric and egomaniacal and so forth. But I look at his policies.
Yeah,
I paid a lot more attention to that, his policies, and I feel that he was leading the country in the right direction. And now, his successor hasn't even been president, 9 months yet, just barely, I guess. And look at gas prices, or for one example. Okay. And I guess people who hate Trump don't mind paying higher gas prices, I guess. And I guess they don't mind not being energy efficient. But anyhow, I don't want to. My purpose is to evoke your thoughts, because this is about you and young people, and you impress me as a particularly articulate young person. I mean, very young. I mean, I thought you were 30-something. You said I'm 22 or something. I said, what? Gosh. So, all right. So, very well put about Trump. And people who know me and know KSCO, they know that I'm very much like Trump in that regard. I never accept personal responsibility for anything. I always look to anybody else to blame, you know. At a restaurant, I ask the waiter to recommend, you know, what to eat. Because so I can blame them if I don't like it.
Exactly. See, your hands are clean.
Yeah. So anyhow, I never thought about that, what you just brought up about Trump, but you're absolutely right. And that's another reason I love of course, I'm kidding about myself. I mean, I you know, I just like to say that. But I am truthful and very honest when I tell our audience that I am not interested in people's complaints about KSCO. Only praise. You know, if you can't say something nice, if you want to call KSCO or send an email or something to complain, forget it. We're not interested. Send it to another radio station or call another radio station. We're just not interested in. We do not like trolls. We do not like people who bitch.
I get that.
Okay. No wonder we have no phone calls. Okay, what else should we talk about? What is the greatest threat to the United States?
Oh gosh.
Okay, in your opinion. I'm leading you.
I know. Yeah, I'm walking into your trap.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
But what do you think it is, really?
God. I think it's the downfall of public education. You know, we used to put men in the moon. You know, and we used to do that confidently. You know, through a whole decade. Actually, a little more than like probably almost 2 decades. We did that confidently, and we were the best at it. Now, you know, GMEC, a lot of the vocational schools are going away. We don't have welders anymore. You know, there's very few people who can actually do the hard work that needs to be done to build America, you know, up. And especially with the new stuff coming in, fiber optics, you know, cell towers, all these things that need to connect us and that will give us better speeds, faster communications, stronger roads, just those things. We don't have enough of those people. Like, we need a lot more of that. And we have to accept that not everyone should go to college. Not everyone's built for college. I went to community college for 3.5 years. I have 4 associates. But yeah, mathematics, physics, computer science, and liberal arts because I showed up. So, you know.
What do you mean because you showed up?
You finish GE. If you get all your GE done, you get liberal arts associates. It's not really meaningful.
How come they don't have conservative arts?
I know,
they only have
right?
Liberal arts. Why is that?
I don't know. Maybe they just don't like conservatives in college. That's true. I mean, that's very true.
Yeah.
You know, they don't. Yeah, my brother, he's a moderate. He's a moderate centrist. He likes being in the center because he can play devil advocate. But a lot of people in Santa Cruz call him, you know, a racist or a conservative just because he likes questioning the views of either side, you know, Republican, liberal, doesn't matter. He likes questioning to understand their viewpoint, to get to know why they think the way they do, instead of just spewing out something regurgitated, you know, 40 times over. He's like, what do you actually believe in this? And sometimes when he puts logic into it, he gets called, you know, a racist, or people are, you know, opposed to him, or, you know, call him a liberal because, you know, he's questioning why they should
Does he mind being called racist or liberal?
Oh, he hates it. Because he genuinely doesn't understand why people just don't want to like hash it out, not like aggressively or with animosity, just like, hey, walk me through your viewpoint. Like, why do you believe in this? And like, walk me through it. Like, because I want to understand why you believe the way you do. And sometimes I get heated at him, he gets heated at me, but that's, you know, we're brothers, so it's all love there. But I can see past that because we talk it out, we get past the good, bad, and the ugly, and then we actually get down to the core of our beliefs. And then from there, I have bigger respect for him because I understand where he stands and I know why he stands there. But, most people nowadays, especially on social media, you call someone a liberal, someone a conservative, and it's just, at fists, and you're at each other's throats and you're not doing anything. You're just throwing words out because you want to, stab them with something.
You want to throw a bomb.
Yeah, you just want to see the world burn at that point, because no one wants to talk anymore. No one wants to understand each other. Everyone wants to say you're right and you're wrong.
So that's a problem facing the world. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that there's no civility and no tolerance anymore.
It's all barbarism.
Yeah, so that's good. I think that it's always bothered me, even when I was younger than you are now. It always bothered me that people in education strived to be educators, not administrators, rather, not teachers, because the administrators, the paper pushers, got the big salaries, and the lowly teachers, who should be getting the biggest salaries of anybody, that way it attracts the best, right? Didn't. And to me, education has always been upside down. Forget about the by design, universities hiring 85 or 90 or even more percent, left-leaning political people, and hardly any conservative-leaning people at all. Forget that. Just the whole thing was upside down, was topsy-turvy from the beginning. That always galled me, and that certainly hasn't changed either. So Dave Michaels, if you're listening, I can see that there's someone waiting on line one, but I don't know who it is. So maybe, I don't know. I guess we could take it. You want to take a phone call now?
Why not? Let's give it a go.
You want to? Yeah, let's take a phone call now, okay? I forgot how to take a phone call. Let's do this here. Hello, caller. Who are you?
Wendell, Reno, Nevada.
Wendell,
Ooh, Reno.
Okay, yeah. Welcome to the Saturday Special, Wendell, with Parker and MZ.
Thank you. Yeah, first of all, I'd like to compliment you on your choice of guests. It's always nice to get fresh perspective, and your guest seems not only intelligent, but he seems fairly optimistic. My question to your guest is, how do you feel about the climate change situation? Do you feel optimistic, pessimistic? Do you think your generation is going to be able to save the planet? How do you feel about that?
Ooh, that's a good question. In my time, my 20 years is nothing, but in my time, I've seen a lot of incentives being made and people doing a lot of things on their own accords, which is a very exciting thing to see. People not being coaxed on by a government or by some company. It's individuals making new things. Like there's a gentleman in Denmark right now who's making automated ferry boats that collect trash through the rivers in Denmark, and it's all self-funded, and he's now built, I believe, 3 or 4 of them, and I think some companies now are now investing into them a couple $100 million to expand that essentially elsewhere. But there's a man in India who's building edible spoons. So when you're done eating, you can just eat the spoon, and there's no more plastic waste. There's a bunch of people all throughout the world who are trying to make things a little bit easier, make things a little less wasteful. Instead of putting a plastic spoon in a plastic wrapper, just make a spoon edible, and you've just saved yourself a bunch of time and money. I think that's something that's really good, is that e-waste and being wasteful is being, in large part, hedged and curbed by a lot of people who are just coming up with fun ways to make things just more usable and more sensible. That's probably, for me, climate change is how to deal with that, is just keep finding ways to, what can we save? What can we optimize? What can we reuse and keep using instead of having to make something new?
Good attitude. And I like the fact that you're taking it on somewhat as a challenge. And I think the hope of our future of humanity on this planet is going to depend on people such as yourself with your attitude. You have the correct attitude Okay, thank you very much, and I appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Wendell in Reno. What do you think of the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party?
Oh, okay. Oof. I mean, let's be real. North Korea and China and Russia and Belarus are all dictatorships, pretty much. Let's be real. You know, Putin's been in power for elected terms, but, you know, they're not elected. CCP is, if you say anything bad about China, if you say anything that they don't subscribe to or condone, it doesn't happen. That's very much true with the cinema industry. Hollywood doesn't make movies for American markets anymore. It makes it for the Chinese market. You know, most films.
Wow.
I mean, it's genuine.
Wow.
And
I never heard that before.
No.
But you make all the sense in the world.
Like, think about it. Like Star Wars, 60% of its box office came from China alone. Star Wars, the American, you know, saga that
That
is.
started in 1977. That's a long time ago.
Once the prequels hit China, they realized, oh my God, 40 to 50% for the prequels, episodes 1, 2, and 3, all were from China specifically. And then the rest was filled in by worldwide, and then about 30% was domestic. So people realized we don't have to make a movie for America. We just have to make a movie and then sell it to China, and we'll make our money back. So that's the same thing. You know, China's the biggest example because they own everything. They own Disney essentially too, because Disney won't make anything that China won't approve because that's their huge market. So China's dictatorship, which on paper isn't. North Korea's a dictatorship, obviously. Belarus is a dictatorship because, get this, the president of Belarus, it's illegal to take a photo of him from behind because he's got a bald spot. There's been 12 journalists arrested for doing that. Yeah, imagine that. Freedom of the press, not in Belarus. So, yeah, it's just China. A lot of Asia and a lot of Asia, mainly China and Russia, the two biggest players, are just keeping a fist down on everyone, and
So backing up to my question earlier about the largest threat to our country, and you said the wrong direction education is going. I think that's a great answer. I really do. But I was thinking about the CCP.
Really?
I really was. Yeah, and not only the greatest threat to our country, but the greatest threat to the world. And you think I'm being a little too dramatic here with that, or too
I think it's well-founded.
paranoid or whatever?
No, I think it's well-founded because, China does own the world's market. It was back in the 1800s, and it's still true today. But I don't think as far as like a military action, same thing with Russia. I think they're just, puffing up. The biggest press and the biggest propaganda that they can make is the fear that generates in America. That's it. If you can make your enemy think you're bigger than you are, then you've already won the game, because now they have to think twice before they do something with you. So I do believe, if war between China and America won't ever happen, because there's too much money at stake.
Well,
they'd lose so much.
Traditional war.
Well, yeah, there's never going to be a World War III as far as what we consider World War I and World War II, because it's too costly. There's no winning. We have nukes. That's the threat, and even then, no one's going to push that button because it's mutually assured destruction. If America goes down, that's like 40% of the world GDP. If China goes down, that's like the other 60. So, who's going to win? How is it going to be fought? Not on the beaches, not in the streets. It's going to be done in some back rooms with presidents and ministers and stuff like that. That's all it's going to be. But as far as tariffs, though, economically, I think that's where you're completely valid. I believe just before he left presidency, Trump put in tariffs on imports from China, if I've got that correct, didn't he? That affected something close to me, is that the enthusiast computer building market. I build computers, so everything skyrocketed. Graphics cards, CPUs, power supplies, motherboards, everything doubled in price overnight because you couldn't get it. Then COVID hit. Well, now the supply chain's destroyed, so that tripled the value of everything else. So the economy is where we're going to hit the most, I think. That's the biggest crippling factor to America, is China's control on our economy.
I have an email sent to mz@ksco.com. Who says, question for the guest in the subject line. Are you ready?
Go for it.
Ask him for an example of something where Trump should have said, I was wrong. I don't think he was wrong very often. Thanks, Barbara L.
All right.
Okay, what do you say to Barbara?
Interesting question. Now, again, COVID, very polarizing, topic. Some people are anti-vax, some people are, pro-vaccination, and there's, everything in between. What I wanted from Trump, just from that, was just kind of more of a consolidation of a task force. This is a part of the White House is going to be working to coordinate with the rest of the alphabet soups, the FBI, CIA, CDC, all these people, to help kind of just have a floor plan. I don't want you to force people to do anything. I don't want that. I'm not here to force people to do anything. I just want consistency and at least capacity to do something if need be. Mobilize ICU beds. Help move medical facilities and keep medical facilities stocked and ready to go, because people are dying. Now, again, what causes that, I'll leave that to you, because everyone has their own opinion on that. But people are dying, and there's hospitals that are overfilled. So that's the problem that I want addressed, regardless of what's killing them. I want them taken care of. I want them to have the physicians there. I want them to have the medical supplies there. That's all I want from them. So, and that, there was Trump's White House chief of coordinated strategy. I think that was her designation of sorts. But she was in charge of the White House's coordinating with everyone else. She had a team of one. It was her, just her, coordinating with the CIA, FBI, CDC, and other, like WHO, the World Health Organization, to essentially embody the entire power of the White House. Just her, and her team was just her. So it was just one person from the White House who was overworked and did not have the manpower to coordinate all these large governments with different bodies, different departments, to help America just fight whatever's going on in America. So that's what I wanted, where he could either associate that, say, hey, we're not doing enough, we can do more, and I will do more. I would love just that. Even if he didn't do more, just saying, hey, we're not doing enough, we need to do better, let's do better. That's all I wanted from him. And he didn't give that. He just said, "Oh, it's the the WHO's problem, or it's the CDC's failing us." Well, you're the president. You can make that decision to say, "Hey, I'll give you the more assets to make this right, to help the load. I'll dedicate more people on the White House staff to coordinate with you, so we have people on the ground, with people in offices, with people in distribution centers, to make this go smoother." That's all I wanted from him. He didn't say it. He said, "It's not my problem. It's the state's fault. It's Iowa State for not having enough medical supplies. The liberals for not passing this and that." It's like, you're the president. You can do executive orders. You don't need Senate or Congress even to move ICU beds to give the CDC what it needs. You don't need to do that.
Yeah, just like he didn't need anyone but himself to bring on the vaccines in record time.
Yeah.
I mean, do you believe that, or do you think that he grabbed credit for that?
I think he did. Only because the vaccine started rolling out after he left presidency, like in large capacities. So I don't know. I'm not the president. I have no idea how much of that was his work,
right,
or it was maybe his cabinet's work, or maybe it was the Biden's administration. I have no idea. I can't say that. But
speaking of Biden, how do you think he's doing as president for?
I'm appreciative of his vaccination effort to at least coordinate that and say, hey, if you want it, it's here, go for it. That's what I'm excited about. There is talk about, especially in some jobs, are saying mandatory vaccination. That's a little sticky for me, no pun, but I do think it's a good thing to have it available to whoever wants it. It's here. It's covered by. I'm pretty sure it's free for virtually everyone.
You chose of your own accord, right? You were not forced by your employer or anything.
No, I chose to, because for me, it's free. It takes 20, 15 minutes to get it, and you do that with a 3-week gap or 2-3 week gap between it, and then you don't have to wear, for a time, you didn't have to wear a face mask at all if you're vaccinated. So it's free. Takes 20 minutes once every 3 weeks, or once you do it the second time, you're done, and you don't have to wear a mask. It's a pretty no-brainer. And I'm pro-vaccination in my mind. I'm not going to force anyone to get it, but
right.
I get my flu shots. I get the polio shot. Polio's gone because Elvis promoted it and saying, "Hey, look at me, I'm getting the polio shot." And then polio vaccinations went up 60% that year, and polio was eliminated from America about 2 or 3 decades after that. So polio doesn't exist as far as natural existences. It's only localized or brought in. So, and it's herd immunity. So that's fine. But I'm pro-vax for that reason.
That voice you've been hearing is Parker's voice. Would you like to talk to Parker? I, with my great power, am now going to open the phone lines and make it possible for all you people out there who care to talk to Parker. 479-1080. Or if you just want to get a message through to Parker, you can use my email address, mz@ksco.com. And so, okay, so what do you? I want to get as specific as possible here. Yeah, I love the fact that you brought up the education, that you're concerned with the direction of education, because I just haven't heard that too much, except from the callers to the talk radio station, of course. You know, what are some other things that you would like to see improved and changed or have more attention given to?
In education?
Yeah, or anything.
All right, I'll give you
the young person's perspective. That's what we're looking for.
I'll give you some backstory. So I was raised in my earlier years, like from 2 to about 12, in Long Island in the Hamptons, West Hampton to be specific. The cool thing about that was that about a third of the homes there were being lived in. A lot of them were vacation homes from people who lived in the city. So we had beachfront property that was empty for about anywhere from 6 to 9 months out of the year, and all that tax money went to the local schools. So most of the kids who went to those schools there were poor, were like $40,000 or less. And so I got a huge education that was like almost a private school education in public school because of the taxes that was just shipped over. So I went from, when I graduated from 6th grade into middle school, into 7th grade, West Hampton Middle School, everyone had MacBooks from grades 6 to 12 with their own IT support, and it was all public school. Not a teacher, no parent had to pay to get their kid into school. All of them had MacBooks. The teachers had PowerPoints, which they would send out to all their students before class. They say, hey, take notes on the PowerPoints when I'm giving the presentations. And so I got the best public school possible because taxpayer money was shipped over to me because the people who own a lot of the houses there didn't live there. So their kids were getting city college or city public education, and I was getting essentially private school education for free. So that's something that I was like, whoa, this is awesome. And then come around me to 13, I'm heading over to 8th grade. I go to California. California is 49th, the 49th state, but also 49th in education in America. It's horrible. And the reason why is because we have the most schools in the United States per state. We have the most schools. Shocker, we have the biggest population. But it's the fact that we have so many schools scattered all throughout California that the taxpayer money won't cut it. You can't. You're giving everyone box tops, essentially. That's what you're doing with the taxpayer money because there's too many kids. Too many kids, too many schools, and the money that we allocate per year for California to our schools is not enough. It will never be enough because we keep adding schools. We keep having more kids. So California is drowning in a pool of we don't have enough money, so unless you're a private school, you're kind of at the mercy of old textbooks, overhead projectors that are 30 plus years old, on cellulite sheets with those expo markers, chalkboards that squeak and haven't been touched in 20 years, and that's what a lot of the kids in California are getting, sadly. Unless you live in a wealthy area or go to private school, you're getting like outdated things for, it's 2021. Come on, man. Like, we got to start updating. We got to start making this happen because a lot of kids are dropping out of school because there's not enough to go around. There's, they don't feel heard. The teachers that they get are kind of, you can go look at any school. There's bargain bin teachers in any school you go to, but there's a lot more bargain bin teachers now than there are quality teachers because there's not enough money. We don't pay our teachers enough money to be better. It's a lot of teachers, working themselves to death on their dime to make the effort to give our students a better education. And that's not enough because we're wearing them down. There's been teacher strikes all throughout America. In the past, 10 years, there's been like at least 5 notable ones, I think. So we're burning our teachers out, and they're not paying them enough. And then we're expected to do, just put more textbooks in. We don't need more textbooks. We need more money to give people better paying jobs for teachers who are educating the future, and that's all we need. But that's not going to happen because people don't want to do that, or people will just move the money over. It's in one way, out the other. So that's why I hate education in California.
Lori just sent me a text, and I want to. It says, "What a great show! Parker is incredible." When asked about Biden, though he only addressed one domestic issue, the vaccines. It goes off the screen, and then I can't. Lori, call in 479-1080.
Yeah, Lori, I'm happy to talk. I'm happy to.
Okay, yeah. I'm inviting her to call in. I hope she will. She's a very, very busy person, and so she might only be able to listen fleetingly. But we do have a number of other callers here, and let's take the next caller, which will be Bill in Santa Cruz, who has a suggestion for housing. Hey, Bill, welcome to KSCO Saturday Special.
Hey, Bill.
With Parker and
MJ.
Hi.
Hi, yes. California does everything to curtail housing, including this latest thing that they foisted on the people, Proposition 19, where if you inherit a home, you're going to have to pay the highest property tax. You can't keep the old one. This isn't going to help kids in California. But anyway, if you want to some suggestions about how to really improve housing, go on Google or DuckDuckGo or whatever, and just search for Larry Elder. He made a talk. I have it on a file that's too large to send you. But he made a talk, and he was questioned by the Sacramento Bee on all kinds of subjects, very hard questions, not softballs. He is a very intelligent man, and he has some real good suggestions on how to solve the homeless and the housing problem in California. However, I don't think that he'll get the chance. He'll win the vote in the second question, but the first question will be keep Gavin Newsom. He'll be retained because of fraud, voter fraud. So I'm sorry, California, but look at what Larry Elder has to say, and you'll see what could have been. I have a whole bunch of other things.
Negative. I mean, you don't be so negative, Bill. Anyhow, thanks for calling the Saturday Special. Wait a second here. I invited Lori to call, and here she is. Lori, Mrs. Butterworth, welcome to the Saturday Special with Parker and MZ. You're on.
Hi. Parker, you might want to show MZ how to scroll down on a text so he can read the whole.
Ooh, shade. Shots fired. Ooh.
It's Saturday.
Okay. All right. You're taking up too much time, Lori. The news is going to get us in a minute and 14.
Oh, no, okay, I'll ask it. So when asked about Biden's performance, you only addressed one issue, the domestic issue of the vaccine. But what about international issues? Afghanistan comes to mind, the southern border. How do you feel about Biden's performance as president internationally?
As far as Afghanistan, the only thing that comes to mind as far as recent history is the military base pullout in Afghanistan that was done overnight. That was a very poor decision in my mind because it's happened again. Like, we're just repeating the Iraq War again at this point. We go in, we just stay there, and then out of nowhere get pulled out. So I didn't appreciate that from Biden. But I do think I did not see his official statement on that, so I can't say anything whether he did a good job or not. But I do believe he is a person where he would take responsibility for that failure, whereas Trump wouldn't. Whether he does something to remedy that's, again, I can't say. But
hate to do this with the
no reason listed for that, but keep that in mind. Your weather forecast for today is for sunny conditions with highs around 77 degrees. Tomorrow, or tonight that is, lows will be around 60 degrees. On the bay, west winds 20 to 25 knots, gusts up to 30 knots, wind waves 1 to 2 feet, southwest swells around 2 feet at 15 seconds, and west 2 to 3 feet at 13 seconds, along with patchy fog. It is currently 11:06. Coming up next on your favorite radio station, it's hour 2 of the Saturday Special with your host, MZ.
Dave Michaels. Let's create some urgency.
All right, what do you want to do?
About the Dave Cave products.
Oh.
And how How do we do that?
I don't know. Maybe we could hypnotize them. Ever thought about doing that?
That's a great. I've wanted to
Yes,
do that
let's do
ever
that.
since we've had the station.
Uh-huh. Right.
Can we get into trouble for that?
I don't think so. Let me try it.
Okay.
Look into my eyes. You want to go down to the Dave Cave and pick up a great deal for you and your furry little pet. We have great deals for both of you. I will be there until 2. Stop by. I command you.
And it could work. You could substitute furry little pet with furry little plant.
Yeah,
too.
furry little vegetables, garden. We have all that
Right.
stuff, MC. We even have stuff for your clothes. We have detergent, which is friendly on the environment. Bloomin' Minerals, Arthrodex for your pets. We've got all that stuff. And I command you to stop by and get a great deal. I'll be there till 2.
That is great, and that sort of creates a natural segue into the introduction of another guest that we have today. We're still going to have Parker. There's a bunch of people who want to talk to Parker right now. Okay, but let's. We can't do anything until we officially open hour number 2 of the Saturday Special on your favorite radio station.
Oh, hello, darling. I hate to hang up on you, but I'm sorry, baby, but I have to go. It's time for that wonderful record show. I'd love to visit, but you'll have to call back. KSCO has the inside track.
Would you like to get on the inside track with us? Well, you can right up until noontime by calling 831-479-1080.
I'm sorry, baby, but I really gotta go to KSCO Radio. Bye.
Parker Mac. How do you say it? Here, wait a minute. I got to turn your mic on again.
You almost had it. Go again.
All right. McElnany.
No, McAnally.
Machiavelli, like Machiavelli.
So close, yeah. Actually, that's pretty good.
I can try,
You can say that, but you can't say Machiavelli.
Yeah, however it takes, whatever it takes to. When you get to be my age, your brains start to sort of atrophy. It just sort of happens.
Well, my hair's already going, so it's all good.
Wow. God dang. Okay, so 479-1080. If you heard the last hour, you can hear this hour too. But before we introduce a co-host of the second hour here, the Saturday Special, I want to invite Steve in Monterey to go on. Steve?
Steve?
There we go. I hit the wrong button here.
Okay.
right.
How are you, Steve? Be honest.
Fine. I hope your email's working regarding me, right?
I think so.
Okay, I sent 2 emails.
You did?
Anyway, yeah, last week.
Oh.
It's www.mz@ksco.com.
Not www.
Right?
That's the problem right there. It's
okay.
mz@ksco.com.
Okay, we'll have to resend them.
Yeah.
Anyway,
because I didn't get them. I've gotten them from
okay.
you before. All right, so what's up? You want to talk about war in China, right?
Yes. Here's my opinions, first of all. In the first place, the whole world has lost its reason. We're all insane. We're all just crackers. Or
drink to
we
that.
would be holding somebody accountable for what happened with COVID-19, be it China, Biden, Obama, whoever. We're doing everything but that. And I think the reason that the election was rigged is so that Biden and Obama basically could manage the crisis and not put them on trial. And that's why I think it was rigged. Now, I do think China started a war to get rid of Trump. And the war was this: you get rid of Trump, and if you don't do it, we're going to just do this to you, for example. That's what I think happened.
Well, you could be right, but then you could be wrong.
Well, I was wrong about Obama. I was wrong about Clinton. I should never have supported any of them. If I were to tell the world anything, it's this. When Trump came along, we were two-thirds the way into the snake's mouth. And Trump did a little Heimlich maneuver to get us out, and that's right when the COVID hit.
Wow. Okay. Steve, great to hear from you. Thank you for calling 479-1080. Eileen in Santa Cruz about education, I believe, yes?
Hi, yeah. Hi, MD and Parker. Thank you for taking my call on your great show. First of all, I want to commend Parker, and he is extremely articulate, and it's so refreshing to have a young person who's willing to even have a civil conversation with somebody who doesn't, necessarily hold the same views. So that is extremely hope-producing. And, I think that's one of the reasons why we're in the trouble that we're in as far as our country goes, because we don't have iron sharpening iron anymore. People don't, if they dissent on any, subject and don't group think, then, they get name called, like he was talking about his brother, gets labeled and dismissed. And that is, I think that's one of the things that's destroying our country, because our founders certainly never did that. They, anyway, as far as education goes, public education is part of the Communist Manifesto, and it's designed, I believe, to train workers, not, thinkers, not innovators. And like you had said, the administrators get the preponderance of the money. The money gets filtered to the head, and it also has been used as a propaganda tool for propaganda. You see, what's happening now in education with the the rewriting of our history, and so I just wanted to thank him. And then Parker mentioned that he is builds computers. So I was wondering if he watched the Cyber Symposium and with the hackers, and that was just on this last couple of days, showing the vote and how it was stolen. And I just wanted to get his perspective on that.
Thank you, Eileen, for calling 479-1080. Thank you. What do you think?
There was a lot there to unpack. I'm not sure exactly what to respond to, but I didn't see the symposium. I did not see that. But I do believe education is being a little hurt. Going off to what she said, I'm interested to actually a little bit to hear more about her view on public education and how that, using, I believe, her words, is the Communist Manifesto or a part of it. That'd be very interesting to kind of dissect and understand where she stands on that. But
well, she's still there. You can. If we have a lot of callers here, Eileen, but go ahead and since Parker wants to.
Well, it's one of the tenets of the Communist Manifesto. It's one of the legs that it stands on. So, our founders did not want us to have public education, publicly funded education, and people, think that that's crazy, but because they could see the danger in that. It always starts out benevolent, right? It always starts out like the Big Brother is always, he doesn't bare teeth. He doesn't become a bully, from the get-go, right? He's benevolent. He's going to help you. He's going to take care of you. He's, going to provide for you. And then he starts wanting to be the dictator. And that's where the problem comes in. It's human nature. Well, it's like power corrupts and perfect power corrupts.
I have a two-pronged question for you. One is that public education is controlled by the government. And the government, by and large, especially for budget cuts and whatnot, is controlled by the Senate and the House, which are elected officials. So if you don't like what they're doing with that, you can elect them out, the public vote. We'll see how good that goes. But What the second thing is that if we don't have people in schools, regardless of private, public, you name it, we'll have an even larger population of even more uneducated people, because essentially we'd either homeschool them all, or all the private schools would fill up. And there's a large portion of America that can't afford private schools. So we'd have kids learning even less, doing less, and the only thing that could maybe save them would be vocational schools, but those are gone pretty much, especially for young kids. So we'd have even less knowledge available, because most public schools have libraries of varying things, different nonfiction, fiction, science, and other things, which they can help them make up their own minds. Which is I something recommend is look up things and research those. But if we say no more public school, that means we lose a lot of libraries with varying views of the world and sciences, and then we pretty much continue the cycle of not learning anything. I'd instead of saying defund something that it has potential but isn't working, I'd say invest more into it to make it better, to make it more open, so other people with other views can all come together and learn from each other, instead of like you said, label and dismiss others. I think that's the solution to that.
Okay. Hey, that's great. We have so many other. Appreciate your call to 479-1080, Eileen. Let's see. There's a number of emails, okay? Kathy the Troll sends good emails. Kathy says, "Hi, Michael. I think your guest is very intelligent, but in some ways naive. This is most likely because the human brain is not fully developed until the age of about 24 or 25. That and the fact that way before he was born, our school system had been taken over by the left. So that has to have been an influence on him. If he keeps an open mind, which it seems like he's doing more than most young people right now, he's going to do great." And that's from Kathy the Troll.
Well, thank you, Kathy.
There's another one from her. It says, also, when anyone speaking of Biden fails to mention his mental condition, his obvious cognitive issues, I don't think they're even watching or listening to any of his talks. Therefore, how can they even know what is really going on in our country right now? Okay, so that's just sort of it. Now, George Myers says, "It's time for a vacation. You and the little lady should go to a faraway land. You could take a safari, eat some crickets, or drink a weird fruit smoothie. Give yourself a break. Leaving KSCO is no easy task. Have fun."
We'll have fun, though. That's the takeaway.
Okay, your mic wasn't on, but now I'm looking at the clock, and I've talked about having a guest host for the second hour of the Saturday special, which is 34.5% gone already. So I feel like a clod.
Well, you're taking full responsibility for not letting me talk for the last hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That's all right. But this guest you have, this young man, he gives me hope.
He does, doesn't he?
He does, yeah.
Cool. Do you like being slobbered over?
No, I hate it.
Oh.
Yeah.
I hate birthdays. Okay. My birthday specifically. I love other people's birthdays.
Okay, well, that voice belongs to Allan Masters. And if you're thinking a relation to Roy Masters, the Masters family is a second family to me. I love them all. And we lost Roy and his wife Ann this year, back in April. And within a couple of days, we did a tribute Saturday special to the loss of Roy Masters, who was a titan in the world of using your mind, how to learn to use your mind to keep you well, and how to conquer negative emotions, both of which I believe are titles of one of the many books that Roy has written. Allan is in town here today for a few days, and he had a few minutes available. He's usually the busiest human on earth, but he made time. He made time to come down to KSCO and join us on the Saturday special. I don't think anybody's been on the radio more hours, who's logged more radio time than Allan, except possibly his dad.
Oh, no, my dad beats me hands down.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I want to say to this young guy here, first of all, have you ever seen the movie Red Dawn?
Yes, I have.
Right? You remind me of one of the Wolverines. The Wolverines were the high school that actually ended up taking over, I think it was Red China or something at the time. But the situation is that our country, you talked about World War III maybe.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of it right now with a biological warfare. You said it. There's not going to be fighting and tanks and all that. It's going to be something like we're experiencing this biological warfare. And also, we have this, what's scary to me more than anything, I think, and MZ, I don't know what you think about it, but I'd love to get your take, Parker. AI is the next scariest thing on my plate.
Yeah, AI is a pretty interesting idea.
Artificial intelligence, in case you don't know.
Yeah, there we go. AI is a pretty interesting thing to me. There is limitations to it currently, and you also can program limitations to it because there's different levels of it. There's not just an AI is the one that's going to, Skynet and Terminators and all that junk. You kind of have to stage it and layer it. You got to make it think, and that's the hardest part. I had a friend who she was a double major, computer science and psychology. So she wanted to make AI. So study the human brain and then learn how to program it. It was pretty good for her. So I think she's over in UCSC or San Jose State. But there's a lot of AI out there already. Like Deep Blue, I remember the think tank, the chess player, or the robot chess player. Deep Blue wasn't really an AI. It was more of machine learning, and that's a very key difference. Machine learning is what failed, let's try something else. That's machine learning. AI is why did it fail, not just say let's try something else. It says why did it fail, realize those elements, and then change those accordingly. So Deep Blue was machine learning. That's why he was such a good chess player. But a simple rudimentary AI can beat Deep Blue because AI can think differently than it can think. So again, if you've ever seen iRobot, that classic one,
right?
There's the one where you have tenants that it has to default onto, and none of the previous tenants supersede the first, which is don't hurt human life essentially.
But to your point, General Motors, they have computers and they have robots that build cars, and so the robots were kind of bumping into each other a little bit. So the engineers decided, let's let the computers and robots talk to each other. And what happened actually scared the living hell out of them. The computers started talking in their own language and started working together much better. It was much more efficient. But the engineers at General Motors went, what the living heck's going on here? And so they kind of shut it all down because they couldn't decipher what they were saying to each other.
Yeah.
So that's that artificial intelligence, which I mean, listen, Elon Musk, Tesla.
He says he's scared of it.
He's scared to death of it. Now, what do you think about Elon Musk? Because you've been talking about entrepreneurs. Have you noticed that? He hasn't used the word entrepreneur yet, but you've been talking about what is great about America, which you are, I'm sure. Even if you work for a company, you're an entrepreneur because you're a clear-minded, self-motivating individual. That's called an entrepreneur. Somebody gets out there and does what they do because they love learning and they love teaching and they love doing. What do you think about it?
Again, I think Elon Musk is very much right to have fear of it. Now, to damn it, that's one thing. But I think he's more scared of giving AI more control. Like, what your example, the GM manufacturing line with robots, they can only really build cars. That's all they can really do. So that when AI implemented there, I think that's actually a pretty good idea because the computer will pick up efficiencies that humans will miss. So I think that's actually a pretty good thing. But once you start giving it more command, like HAL from 2001: Space Odyssey, that's something that's control of life support, airlocks, access to medical equipment, anything that is gated or necessary to life or can implement harm. That's where I think AI is. That's the fear.
Can I ask one more question before I shut up? What is your father?
I'm tired.
No. What does your father do?
So both my parents are double masters, ordained ministers.
Amazing. Amazing.
So my dad and my mom met in Princeton Seminary, where they were getting their Masters in Divinity together. And
I thought you were going to tell me he's a plumber. Just so honestly.
Yeah, just
so
you know, plumber's cracks.
Because you're such a blue collar,
biblical atlas of
work-a-day Joe. I love it. And this is actually even more interesting. But go ahead.
So they met in Princeton Seminary, where they fell in love. They moved to Scotland, where my dad finished his master's there, his last 6 months, and then. This is also weird. Family history. They moved back to the States and had in Tennessee, where they were both associate pastors together, equal pay, equal position, which was actually kind of rare back in the '92. So probably because they had to, because they were married. But they had my brother. They went to Michigan. They had me. Then they moved to New York, and then so on so forth. They split. So my dad is no longer a practicing minister. He is a chaplain for hospice currently.
Wow.
And that job, he loves to death. He loves,
Well, he must. It's about death.
Yeah, I mean, it's about death. It's about life. It's about
loves
companionship.
The face from MZ. I love it. Your mic's off, by the way. Okay.
I put it off so I can do this.
Thank you.
And not irritate the audience.
Thank you.
So yeah, that's what my dad currently does. He loves the hell out of it. And my mom is a practicing minister, a Presbyterian minister. They're both. My dad was Presbyterian. My mom is Presbyterian.
Wow.
Yeah,
you're definitely an unusual young man, I have to tell you.
I'd say, and oddly enough, me and my brother are both atheists.
Oh my!
I know, right? Let us stir the pot a little more.
My
but again,
gosh.
my parents were very open to, like, have an open mindset. Question things.
Wait a minute. If you're an atheist, you've made a judgment. You've already decided there's no God, so you're not being open. You need to continue being open.
No. Hold on. The idea for me,
I thought, said there might be or there might not
that's
be.
Agnostic. That's agnostic.
I got it reversed.
Agnostic is there may or may not be. Atheists. Atheists. I'm one of those atheists who are like, it's perfectly normal and fine to believe in religion. I think people who do, it's perfectly fine. It gives them purpose. It gives them fulfillment, satisfaction. That's a beautiful thing, and I think that should be continued and not harassed or jeopardized in any way, because it's a wonderful thing. It's been around for centuries. Why stop it now? Yeah, so my parents are all weird, but my dad is, yeah, there's a whole thing.
Your mom's not listening.
Yeah. No, we have talks. She understands my viewpoint. I understand hers. There's no animosity, and there's all love. So, but my dad, he is a very weird man, because he is a thesaurus. He really will pack as many, 5-syllable words he can into the smallest sentence to convey thought. It's not like we're heading out. It's like, let's transition. Like, he has to, he does, and he adds words that, it's fun because it's cool, but, I learned a lot of my words from him, just hearing him talk. And if you ever saw him on the podium, he is just a wonderful voice to talk to. He's got an even deeper voice. He's got a wonderful cadence in how he speaks, and the words he chooses are very colorful and picked, selected, cultivated. So that's where I get kind of my vocabulary from, and my brother as well. But that's where.
Well, I can see why MZ was enamored by you, because you're definitely a clear-thinking, young man that I think older guys like he and I, we go, look at this young man. And you may not have it all right now, as far as you just don't have all the answers. You know that. People are like, why doesn't he have the answers? Well, you're 22 years old. Mm-hmm. But we know that, guys like you can figure things out because they care and they reach for the answers, the truth. Isn't the truth ultimately, the truth is what will set you free. Mm-hmm. And so if you reach for the truth, then you're going to find it, because you're already a clear-thinking individual. Like for right now, I would bet if we meet in 10 more years, if I hope to be alive, you may not be an atheist at that time. You may go, you know what? I had a life-threatening thing, and I was in the hospital for 2 months, and God came to me. I don't know, whatever is going to be. Right, yeah. So you just got to live a certain amount of life, I think. And I have a son your age. As a matter of fact, my youngest son is your age. I have four kids. Wow. And I know he's got to go out and make mistakes. I got to let him go out and make mistakes. And it hurts me to let him make mistakes, but the older I get, the more I realize those mistakes are what are going to teach you.
Yeah, they're the crucible you're made into.
Yeah.
So you gotta let it you gotta let it hurt, but you gotta bounce back from it. Yeah. That's the strongest thing. And especially, I'm not a parent, and I imagine it's you have your own emotions on that, but it must suck watching that sometimes.
It does. I'm a grandparent at this point. I have 3.5 grandchildren, and I love it. But I love MZ because when he told me, he goes, I got to talk to this kid for, this 22-year-old young man, and I want to talk to him for a while. He says, so you come in, but, hang back for a little bit. I want to set it up. I was fascinated. I was like, all the listeners that are listening right now on KSCO, they're like, thank God there's young people out there like you. Even though I completely disagree with some of the things you're saying.
That's fine.
Right. But listen, you got a right to believe what you write.
Yeah, same back to you.
I love where you come from. Mm-hmm. You are like the little tiny, you plant a seed in the ground and you wait and you wait and you wait, and finally a little green leaf comes up and you go, oh, there it is. That's what I see when I see you. There it is. It's alive. It's happening. And then it reaches for the sun, and it grows, and it offers up, leaves and fruit, and that's the rest of your life. But you just pop through. You're becoming a man, and no one should deny you the right to believe whatever the heck you want to. Mm-hmm. And I believe that truly. With all things that I disagree with, you have a right to be wrong. Mm-hmm. You have a right to do whatever you want till you go, wow, that was dumb.
Yeah. Well,
Mom and Dad were right, or whatever.
Yeah.
Or Mom and Dad
discovery.
Were wrong.
Yeah.
Sometimes Mom and Dad are wrong.
It's about discovery. It's
right.
about understanding where you stand and why you stand there.
I think you have a huge future.
How does that make you feel?
Oh, jeez, I'm all blushing now.
Okay. Question for Parker. This came in at 10:55 a.m., and it's from a particularly intelligent listener. Now, all of our listeners are intelligent by design because we do not allow stupid people to listen to KSCO. And if we catch them, there's hell to pay.
I wasn't able to listen till last year. Yeah, because I wasn't intelligent enough.
Gotcha.
So I'm happy to be listening now.
But Andres has a question for Parker. Did you know that polio cases in the U.S. are now primarily caused from vaccinations rather than from any wild polio?
I've heard that too.
I haven't heard that one. Only because the CDC declared it eradicated in, I think, 87, I believe. And as far as America is concerned, again, we're localizing this. But
it's a phoenix that's risen in the ashes.
That's very possible. That's very possible. But I'm not sure. Are we still distributing the polio vaccine? Are we still distributing it currently?
Who said they just had a polio vaccine?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I know that
Someone said
when
that.
you're
Was that
born.
you?
No, not me. Through I know, like when you're born, there's like a time period of when your baby vaccines to knock them out of the way. I don't know if polio is still in there. I don't know, but
can I change the subject?
Yeah.
What do you want to do in your life?
Gosh,
what do you want to be?
That's a good question. Again, I'm 22. I don't know where I'm going to go, but hopefully somewhere in the computer science field.
I was going to say, you love computers. I heard all that. And MZ was stricken by your sheer brilliance and the ability to do all these things. Although, he can't quite figure out how to use the text very well yet on his phone. So
thank you for reminding me about that. It has nothing to do with scrolling. It has everything to do with the damn what do you call it? Where it blacks out the screen.
Right.
What do you call that?
I'm just playing. It just goes dark.
No, I know.
Yeah.
It goes dark after.
Few seconds.
Yeah, what do you call that?
There's an auto lock. There's
auto lock. That's what it's called. Auto lock after a minute, and it had been on for more than a minute. So listen, Mrs. Butterworth, Jesus, I know as I'm as computer savvy as more than most people.
I'm looking
Nothing
at your
like this
radio station here. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But you know what? First of all, I've known MZ for a decent amount of time now. What a delightful human being. Because you know what? He has this uncanny ability to see something in people that other people don't see. He sees it right away. And he saw it in you. And he sees it in a lot of folks that he allows onto his radio station and introduces to the world. And it changes their life forever. You won't be the same after this. I'm sorry. That's the way it goes. You've now been on a radio show.
It's definitely a different perspective.
It is.
Yeah.
Very
different.
He has been infected with talk radio fever.
Absolutely.
A KSCO virus.
Yeah.
He's now a talk radio guy. And I bet in the next year or two he'll have a show on the station.
A podcast. Yeah.
Way sooner than that. Sooner than that. All right. Margaret in Santa Cruz has been waiting for 37 minutes and 8, 9, 10 seconds, but we are about to end that wait. Margaret, you're on.
Hey, Margaret.
Good morning.
Morning.
I was asking the young gentleman there, do you know or can you recite the Ten Commandments? And with your education, do you believe the laws in America are the power in the immorality of our people, or do you feel that morality should be the power in our country's laws?
Interesting question. First off, I cannot name all of them. No, I'm just going to knock that out of the way. Again, I'm an atheist, so you feel free to believe whatever you want. I will not stop you. I will not hinder you in any way. The second thing is that
atheists have the 7 suggestions.
Yeah,
they don't have the 10 commandments.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just playing with it.
No, you're good. So in laws, you can't enact laws based on either one religion or several cultivated religions, because if you do that, then you're infringing on other religions to exist. So I do believe...
I'm not talking religion. Religion has no part in this conversation. Morality of mortal beings. The morality. That's it. Not religion.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying. And that...
reference to the 10 Commandments.
Well, are you saying morality in reference to the 10 Commandments?
Well, as
if you're doing that, then you're saying based on a Christian value system. 10 Commandments, Christianity, you can't separate that if you're saying morality is based on the 10 Commandments.
Well, what? Do atheists feel it's fine just to go ahead and steal and lie? And,
no, they have the 7 suggestions, I thought.
Well, no. Atheists, it's the same thing. It's like, I don't have any desire to do that because it would wrong someone, but it's not wrong because Christians say it's wrong. It's wrong because I'm committing
the difference between right and wrong.
Yeah.
Whether you put a religion to it or not.
If I steal your property, I'm taking something from you that I have it's ill-gotten. It's no longer earned. It's stolen. I've taken something and I've lessened you in some way, and that's wrong. Regardless of what you practice or where you go, if you do something to hurt someone else, that is morally wrong.
Can I jump in? What is the one commandment that that jumps out into your mind that is something you abide by?
Oh, that's easy. Thou shalt not kill.
But it's not. It's thou shalt not commit murder. See how these things get messed up by, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to eat a hamburger because you would have killed the cow, right? It's thou shalt not commit murder. So, but I get it that at a young age, right? See, just like the manifesto that we were talking about, you need to get that because that'll blow your mind. That was from 1848. But this is why, caller, also that we need to allow these young folks to be able to live some life and not judge them or hammer them down. Because this young man is the nail that sticks up, and I'm not going to hammer him down, and I don't think anybody else should. He's going to learn through folks like us. If we don't hate him, judge him, tell him he's a freak because he's an atheist. One of my best friends is an atheist. I love the man. I don't think he's really an atheist, but he's been harmed by religion somehow in his life that he is sensitized. His pain body reacts to the word Jesus. It's like, oh, he can't even stand hearing it. Not because the devil's in him, because somebody tried to hammer him with the Bible. So, I mean, this young guy, I love this guy, and I'm not going to hammer him down. I want to lift him up and show him and teach him and nurture him a little bit, because I believe that there's a soul inside of there that is hungry for the truth. Do you believe
I always
go ahead.
I always call attending church going to a Sinners Anonymous meeting.
That's a good way to look at it.
That's good.
Margaret, thanks for calling. 479. Thanks for waiting so long. Rory, you are on the air.
Hey, great show. I haven't heard the whole thing, but good chunks. One quick factoid on polio. I believe the acellular shot is still given, and I know because I told my pediatrician I didn't want it for my kids, my younger kiddos. But anyway, the last cases of recorded polio in the U.S. were actually the parents, in one instance, a father getting polio from changing his son's diaper because it was when they still gave the live vaccine orally. And I know because I watched that vaccine given to some of my kids. And but the disease was actually passed to a dad, and he caught it from the kid while changing the diaper and actually took a father out. killed them.
Wow.
So I think that was in the early 90s. So they quit using the live vaccine. Anybody's welcome to correct me on that.
Well,
to my knowledge, they still give it.
I know that the first time I had to change a diaper, I almost died my own self, but it had nothing to do with polio or anything.
I know. I was joking.
You got
aside,
quite a
though.
bit
It
of
wasn't
that
deadly
experience. You got quite a bit of that experience yourself, Rory. Yeah.
Oh, I did my fair share. I did dishes. I did everything. As one will do when one loves their wives and their children. They do it all.
No, absolutely.
But, yeah, go ahead. You got a question?
Well, I just wanted to say something to Parker, first of all. What a brave young man to come on and do a radio show at 22 years old. First of all, I commend you for that because you could be annihilated.
Oh, yeah.
Accidentally.
Yeah, I mean, like, a lot of callers can call up and just rail me, you know what I mean?
We have courteous callers.
Yeah, I think so.
No, definitely.
He's a brave soul.
Right, no, it's a
I'm on the chopping block right now. You know, I'm ready to get cut at this point. You know, like I've kind of asked for it at this point.
Right. But I love the courage. So many people don't want to do it. They're like, no, I don't. He's putting himself out there. Let me tell you, this day will never be forgotten in your whole life. There's always a first time you did something that was like, well, my friends told me I shouldn't have done that, but not you, not Parker, because you are the guy that
So I would
goes
agree.
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would agree. You're a brave soul, Parker. And one point I will make: my kids were homeschooled and/or they were in a private parochial school. So we on purpose did not switch to iPads. We had a couple kids at a private high school that did, but it was not a good look. So grammar school has to be books, written, printed, and then learn script, learn how to write. Kids need to learn phonetically. They need to learn how to spell. They need drills and math. You got to get a foundation. And I would say when I was a kid, I'm 61. 40 years ago, Parker would be the average. He's not the average now because we've successively dumbed down a couple generations.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, I had older brothers. They had more brains than I did, but they took the SAT and they nearly aced it. Nobody practiced for the SAT back then. These guys would be MZ's age. They about aced it. It's like, just went and took the test and just nailed it. So I commend you for bringing this up. I do want to make one point. In education, the money needs to follow the student. In California, I think the average, somebody can correct me, but I think it's in the mid 20,000s on average per student in California schools. The money is being squandered.
Yeah,
and
I agree
we
with
need
that
to get
statement.
somebody like Larry Elder. We need Larry Elder or somebody like-minded in as governor. He wants to bring vouchers for education. Let the parents take that money and decide which school and where to go. And all the crappy teachers and the crappy administrators will be run out. We'll use the same buildings. And you'll have good administrators and good teachers. Let the money follow the student instead of the other way around.
In the voucher system, I like that idea because it gives the kid the choice to choose who they want to learn from. I think that's really good. Also, the school benefits because if they have good teachers, they will get more money. I think that's a good system. But an unintended consequence of that is the fact that schools can only hold so many students. So in certain cities, there's like 10 schools maybe. A lot of kids may want to go to that one school that has like the best teachers that they engage, they put the effort in to make your student learn and like help them engage in classrooms. But if the vouchers are given to that school, your kid may not get the teacher they want anymore because they can't take them all. And look at colleges. Colleges are filling up.
Yeah. Parker, it won't take long. Trust me, if the parents hold the whip hand, that is the cash. Trust me. Things will work out. Smart people will do the right things. There'll be plenty of classrooms. There'll be a demand for good teachers. Like I said, the crappy ones that are protected by the union.
Yeah, I think they should get out of there.
So
10-year.
Yeah, 10 years. Yeah, 10 years. It takes 3 years to get 10 years in education. That's crap. 3 years and you can just coast.
And let the parents form up locally and figure it out. They can do it. And the only other thing I wanted to say is, like, you look at the high school that I went to for a couple of years, and my older brothers went all four. It was a technical high school. It had 7 disciplines. Metallurgy was one of them. They had their own foundry.
See, that's a good thing. That's a really good thing to teach vocation in schools as well.
And it was 2.5 hours every day. It was an 8-hour school day. It's not for everybody, but there's no reason each school district couldn't have one technical high school. So those young people that aren't interested in go on to a 4-year education at college can apply themselves. So anyway, and all my brothers went on and got a college degree anyway, but they could have left high school and made a man's wage going out the door. So anyway, all the best, Parker. And hey, Parker, you're young yet. Add 15, 20 years, stir vigorously, and then let's revisit that God issue.
All right, cool.
All right, all the best.
All right,
Bye-bye.
thank you, Rory. Here comes Annie in Felton,
Ooh, Annie.
who has a question for Parker. Go ahead, Annie. You're on.
Thanks, guys. And I have a question for you, too, MZ. But first off, thank you so much, Parker, for your courage. And my question is, how many friends did you tell you were going to be on the show today? And how many of those friends do you think are actually listening?
Well, Lupe was one, but I don't know if he's listening. Other than that, I don't think too many. A lot of them are out of town, or not out of town. They're out of state. So I don't think they tune in for that.
You can send them a link.
Oh yeah. I just don't think. I think they're right now. One of them's a construction worker, so he's currently I think in a manhole somewhere. So I don't think he gets good reception. And the other one. I think he's got a newborn, so I don't think he's taking care of.
But you're telling us you can count your friends on one.
Oh yeah,
hand.
I keep a short list of friends because there's very few people. I think, and for me at least, in life, there's a handful of people you can ride or die with, and then there's a bunch of people you know.
The collective soul of the 5 people you spend the most time with, so choose them carefully.
Yeah, exactly. Cultivate the ones you want that are like they will be for me as I will be for them, and then those are the ones you can live the rest of your life with and have no worries.
Yeah, and great, good friends, great minds. They need to stick together. But there used to be a saying, tell 2 friends, they'll tell 2 friends. And word of mouth is the best way to get information out there. And so on that note, MZ, thank you so much for getting Parker on. And I had talked to you previously about sponsoring a high school student guest each week from a different high school in the county.
Oh,
and
that's interesting.
But timing, I think timing is really critical for young people as well. Early in the morning, Rosie used to have a high school student on in the morning show. They either like to sleep in or they hit the ground running on their way to school, so that's kind of tough. Middle of the day and weekends, they're either in school or in sports or other activities or, so on and so forth. And so I would suggest maybe on the Flight 1080 time slot might be a better slot to
Absolutely.
post. And
Great
getting
idea.
high school students who aren't old enough to vote yet. I mean, I appreciate Parker, but he's already, old enough to vote, and I think we need to get him younger and tell him to tell at least 2 friends to listen when they're going to be on the show, and those
That's
2
awesome.
friends will tell 2 friends,
Yeah,
and it'll spread like wild.
That sounds like a pretty solid idea.
I agree. I think that's absolutely awesome. And if you could do that, I think that would be great. I would listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd be willing to be your outreach, community outreach.
I have
for
have your phone number, Annie. Thank you so much, and I'm going to
Thank
take you up on that kind offer.
Can I make a comment?
Sweet. All right, take care.
Thank you. You too.
Keep up the good work, guys.
One comment that I think is important about doing this kind of stuff, MZ, is my wife, who's 58 years old, I asked her last Sunday, because I was out of town, to do the Sunday talk that we do for my organization that I represent, FHU.com on the web.
Foundation for Human Understanding.
Yeah, it's my father's foundation, and he passed away, so I'm now running it. My wife, we've been together 40 years.
Wow.
Okay?
Congrats.
She'd never done a talk. So here she is, 58 years old. I said, it will be so good for you to do this. The same thing my father told me at 19. I did his radio show one time. He said, it'll be good for you. You'll learn from your own self. I'm sure you already are, Parker. But she started out the Sunday talk. It's kind of like MZ's show. He's very freewheeling, honest. It's transparency at its best. I've never seen such transparency in the radio industry. MZ, he just opens the mics, and here we go. My wife started out, welcome to the show. Thank you for, Within a minute, she started crying. She says,
What?
and I don't like doing this because I'm a crier. And she says, so I'm going to cry. And she starts crying. The reason is, whatever your parents have done with you, they've given you the ability to speak up.
Yeah.
Okay? I knew that. Because here you are, unfettered. You're able to communicate. It's beautiful. My wife, she tells her story about how she was made to doubt herself when she was a little girl. And she's crying, telling her story. And I was like, what? I can't believe that she did that. And it's going to be posted tomorrow morning at FHU.com for those who want to listen to it. But her name is Jan Masters. But I couldn't believe it took her 58 years to finally get in front of a microphone like you're doing today. That's why MZ and I both know this is fantastic for you. It's going to change the trajectory of your life because you realize what you say actually matters. It matters to a lot of people. It matters to MZ, who owns a radio station, enough to put you on the air. It matters to the people that are listening to this show who love the transparency that MZ has and offers to his audience. We love hearing you, even though there's not one person out there that agrees with everything you've said because we are all different.
Yeah, we're all different.
But the beauty is that you are not choked up. You're not worried. You're sitting there. I saw you eat a sandwich in between the hour break. It's like he brought a sandwich in here. Who does that?
I think it was a burrito.
It was a burrito.
Whatever it was. I didn't get a bite, so I don't know what it was. But I love that.
At least he didn't do it whilst on the air. That's something I would do.
You gave him permission to do that, though.
Yeah,
I know.
You gave me the okay for that, but I didn't want to do that. I was like, I don't think the listeners want an earful of that.
But this is what KSCO, this is what you guys offer here, MZ, is the ability for people to speak their truth. Something that is a lost cause. Our First Amendment is being taken away from us. Ability to speak and be heard.
By the way, I wish Pure Heart would call back. I was just going to get to his call when he hung up. And he might not even be listening now, but if he is listening, please call back because you had a question that I wanted you to be able to ask of Parker.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, Pure Heart, please call back, 479-1080.
Can I ask, what do you think about MZ?
I think he's a pretty stunning guy. I mean, think about it.
This. I love compliments.
There you go.
Keep them coming.
Yeah, now I'm dishing it to you. So, I think you're pretty interesting because I meet a lot of people who, and kind of like this radio show, kind of like open up. I typically when I go in people's homes and install internet and stuff for them when they order it, I ask them like, hey, so like what do you do? What's this about? I met a retired police officer in Scotts Valley. He told me his whole life, like all the good and the bad and the ugly, and he was telling me like inside stories, and I was like, what the.
Yeah.
I just asked him how's his day's going. He was like looking for an outlet, and I'm just some cable guy.
Larry. You're Parker the cable guy.
Yeah, Parker the cable guy. So I'll come over. He can talk to me and kind of open up, and especially because he says like no one ever asked me about this stuff, and I'm like, hey man, I'm just here to listen. That's all. That's all I really want from people.
You see what a good listener he is, though.
Yeah. I think this might be. Pure Heart calling. Is it Pure Heart calling?
It is.
Oh, good.
Okay, good. Here you go. So the floor is your. I mean, the air is your. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I was just getting into my Morris Minor to go for a spin when I heard you on the radio, inviting me to call back. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So ask that great question you were going to ask.
One of the most troubling things Parker has mentioned is that when he says to me, he talks to people, the people won't talk, and they just essentially will call his brother racist or whatever it is, just for starting to talk. And that was one of my most favorite things ever to do, is to argue with people about points of view. Then you swap sides, et cetera, as necessary.
Yeah.
Now it bothers the heck out of me that this is being lost. So what do you attribute it, what is causing this? Are they being taught this in school to be non-confrontational and just this is the way things are? Or?
I think it's the energy that both sides. I mean, there's a lot of energy on both sides because it's a two-party system. America is always and will be a two-party system. Red versus blue. So if you're not one, you're the other, pretty much. And that's what people's. And again, I know where you stand because you're the people who like to question. You like to understand both sides. You want to dig deeper. You want to understand. But for the bulk of people, it's easier and safer to be part of the herd. But which herd are you part of? That's the only thing that's really different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So especially when you're a teenager, you think you know everything. I thought that for a while. I don't know anything. I'm 22. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what's going on in the world. But like it's a lot easier to be part of a herd. So when you're with a group of people for your entire life in school, your friends, your family, if they're going one way, it's a lot easier to accept and follow them. And I did it for a while, but that's the easy out. It's the easy way out. It's people who don't want to go up here and talk to people and engage. Like you're a brave soul. You just asked me, all this stuff. A lot of callers that called in today are brave, for coming out here and just, wanted to talk. Sometimes a challenge, sometimes just to understand. But I appreciate it because I get to understand them and they get to understand a part of me. So
I guess I've been lucky, and I have an automatic thing built into me that I automatically oppose anybody trying to persuade me of something and will start poking at it and examining it. So that's stood me in good stead my whole life as far as not being hauled into things. But anyway, I think MZ is quite the same way as well. Who cares what someone else thinks? Just talk it out and
just hash it out, man. Just be there for the other person and understand them, or try to understand them. That's the best thing. Just give it your best shot.
If we can't talk to each other, it makes us easier to be led down the wrong path. I think it's happening. Okay, that was all I had, Michael.
Wait. What year? Do you have a 59 Morris Minor? What year is it?
It's a 58, and you're too young to know what that is anyway.
Oh, no, I've owned Morris Minors before, many of them.
Oh, you poor guy.
That was Allan, by the way. That wasn't Parker, but that's a wonderful little car. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's my first car, and I still have it.
Oh, wow.
I'm kind of tenacious. It cost me $45, and it's still worth $45. So it's been a great investment.
Let's not forget Pebble Beach is tomorrow Sunday at the.
Oh, it is,
and I'll be there. Yeah, that's why I'm actually in town because I'm a car lover.
Okay, because what is it? Actually, my manager's like, every Pebble Beach comes around. AT&T does the cabling and stuff like that for broadcasts.
Yeah.
A manager picks 1 or 2 techs from every yard, and they all go to Pebble Beach. They work like 1 or 2 hours. If they do good work, they just get to mess
That's
around for
fun.
6 hours and watch.
I've been going for 26 years, and Jay Leno co-hosts. I do a radio show, and he's not this year because we're not doing it because of all the craziness. But I'll be having dinner tonight with the president of Ford Motor Company.
Hey, whoa!
And so it's a really interesting.
Who's a personal friend of yours?
It's
That's a humble
interesting. Well, he's a great guy.
No, I'm not saying anything about that.
His cousin is Chris Farley, the comedian.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh.
His name's Jim Farley.
Okay.
But yes, thank you for the call. That was a good call.
Your heart,
See you guys.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Have a good
I love the show today, MZ. It's fantastic.
So, we just let it all hang out.
I love it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So, golly, we have like a minute and a half left. What are we going to do with that minute and a half? I want to say something. I don't want you to take this the wrong way.
All right, go for it.
All right? People of you, Allan, and callers have been buoying Parker up by saying, you're so courageous. Do you think you're courageous for...
I don't know. I don't like talking about myself.
I don't think you're courageous. I think you're just a normal guy. Why do you think he's courageous?
Because 99 9/10 of other young people would say, "Nah, I don't want to do that." Especially with a couple of old guys.
Okay, you're
like
courageous then.
Yeah,
If that's true.
Also, is that on a talk show, especially with callers, you're going to get asked a hot question, and you got to be able to handle that.
Right.
Like I don't think I answered every question perfectly, but I mean I think I went for it.
You did a good job.
That's all that really matters. So
and you learned something today.
Yes,
Thou
I did.
shalt not commit murder. And there's a big difference. And now you got to go look and see what the other ones are, and they're going to become part of your heart.
I also learned that it actually, depending on which version of Christianity you prefer, which denomination, it changes, it alters. So
Okay, Parker and Allan, thanks so much
Thank
for
you,
helping
MZ.
me.
Thank you, Allan, for being here.
Another
Love talking.
great show. It was you, not me. Anyhow, that's it. See you next week, gang.
That's all.